Welcome back to Total Disclosure, everybody. My name's Tyler, and I'm the host and creator of the program. Today is our season finale episode. We have the wonderful and amazing attorney, one of a kind, absolute legend in the field, Daniel Sheehan. And we are about to have an amazing conversation. But before we do that, because it is the season finale, I'm going to be taking a break. Season finale is kind of a loose word. I guess it's really, I'm just taking a month and a half-ish break. Episodes will come out, but they're going to be omnibus episodes. So we won't really be missing any weeks, but some of them will be omnibus episodes. And since it's the season finale, I thought that we should do a giveaway. Now, to be entered in this giveaway, you do have to become a member of the channel, and you could do that for as low as $2.99. So if you become a member by June 15th, after that, the deadline closes. So June 16th, the deadline closes. What we're giving away is a bottle of BioMind, which is a sponsor, valued at $60. It is a all-natural herbal supplement, including performance mushrooms. No, not the trippy type, the legal type. They make me have this kind of motivation, drive, and energy. I love it. I really do. It's changed my life completely. It's, brought back my clarity, no more brain fog. I drink less coffee. It's just been amazing. So we've already made the box out to somebody, put a little UFO on there. So we just got to deliver it. Also, we'll be giving away this Quadcast microphone. That was the Design Award winner for 2019. And we'll be giving away both of those to 2 people. First place, and we'll do like a random drawing of each. So it's like a random number generator. But before we get Danny in here, I just want to talk a little bit about him. So Danny is a constitutional and public interest lawyer. He's a public speaker. He's a political activist and educator. Now, Sheehan grew up in New York, Warrensburg, New York. He attended Northeastern, which is here in Boston, before transferring to Harvard here in Boston, in Cambridge, and he graduated in 1967. He attended Harvard Law School, graduating in 1970 with a Juris Doctor's degree. He was briefly a member of the Army ROTC, but resigned. Over his career, Sheehan's been embarking on the biggest and baddest cases there are. The Pentagon Papers, the Silkwood case, the Greensboro Massacre, the Lepenska bombings. He worked on some of the JFK stuff. He's now involved in the UFO world. He represented Lou Elizondo. He represented Dr. Greer in the Disclosure Project. He has been main counsel for the Disclosure Project. So he's seen, heard, and done so much work. And as of recently, with the New Paradigm Institute and the Romero Institute, he is paving the way for a new reality. Give it up for our season finale guest, Mr. Danny Sheehan. Danny, welcome to the show.
Terrific. Thank you, Ty. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm really, I said this to you before, and I mean it in no joking way. You are among the people that I've, when I make my top 10 lists of people in the field that I'd like to speak with, you're always on that top 10 list. So I really want to just start. I know this is something that you've probably done a million times, but for everybody who may not know who you are by now, can you give us a background and start by telling us a bit about your background, how you became involved in legal cases related to both major historical events and UFOs and the paranormal, etc.?
Sure. There's 2 sort of parallel tracks, Ty, to this. That it all started basically when I was at Harvard Law School. And we began the Harvard Civil Rights Law Review back in 1968. And I had initiated a case. One of the things I maintained at the Harvard Civil Rights Law Review when we created it was that in addition to doing just scholarly articles, we sent out letters to lawyers all around the country saying if they had any really challenging and interesting constitutional law questions, to please forward them to our law review. And we could gather lots of little eager beavers at Harvard Law School and work on these projects. And we actually initiated the case from the Harvard Civil Rights Law Review that ended up establishing the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources. And it went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, that case that we initiated off the law review.
Wow.
So the law firm on Wall Street that represents NBC News came to the law school and recruited me because I was the one that had actually initiated the case out of the law review, and I was the one that did all the briefs. And so I got recruited by the number one corporate litigation law firm in the world at the time on Wall Street, Cahill Gordon, Sinet, Reindel, and Old. And I went down to New York right out of Harvard Law School and was preparing the briefs, not only for the NBC, which was the journalists that we were representing, but also for ABC and CBS, and also for the New York Times and the Washington Post that were filing amicus briefs. And so the bottom line is I got to meet Jim Goodell, who was the general counsel for the New York Times. And so that after we won that case at the United States Supreme Court level, when the New York Times got the Pentagon Papers, they called us. Actually, I was the one that received the call from Jim Goodell to help them deal with the Pentagon Papers. So we did the Pentagon Papers case at the Cahill firm, took the New York Times account away from Lord Day and Lord, which was the law firm that traditionally represented the New York Times, but they had refused to protect them in publishing the Pentagon Papers. In fact, threatened to turn them into the FBI if they didn't give them back. So
why would they do that?
They're right in the midst of that kind of extraordinarily interesting historical event where we ended up getting possession of 47 volumes of top secret Pentagon report prepared by the Rand Corporation. And I was one of the few people, I guess, alive that's read all 47 volumes of the Pentagon Papers. So that we put together the articles to publish in the New York Times. And because of that, I ended up establishing a pretty good relationship with investigative journalists because we had done that original case. And because I became familiar with the details of the Pentagon Papers, I began to get an inside look at the national security state that was functioning here in the United States. And I realized that there was this dark side to American foreign policy and what it is that they were doing in secret that had to do with political assassination programs, heroin smuggling, illegal weapons shipments all over the world. I discovered all of these things. And then I got recruited out of the Cahill firm when the Watergate burglary took place. I got recruited by F. Lee Bailey, the attorney who represented James McCord, who was the CIA wiretapping specialist that got arrested in the Watergate Hotel. And I was put in charge of trying to figure out why these people were in the Watergate Hotel and what they were doing. And ended up, James McCord is the one that wrote the letter to Judge Sirica blowing the whistle on Richard Nixon and the Plumbers Unit. So I ended up being in this kind of extraordinary set of circumstances right out of Harvard Law School.
At a super young age.
But I ended up, I didn't want to stay at Bailey's law firm because I realized that the reason that he knew what was going on in the Watergate Hotel is because he was on this short list of lawyers to represent CIA people who got caught engaged in covert operations stateside. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. And so I left and I went back to Harvard. I graduated from Harvard College in '67, where I studied on American.
I live in Boston, so.
Pardon?
I live in Boston.
Oh, yeah. So, So the bottom line is I ended up going back to Harvard to do a master's degree in comparative social ethics, trying to understand why it is that I was functioning on kind of a different wavelength from both the law firm where I was and with Bailey's office. The bottom line is I ended up getting recruited out of the Harvard Divinity School where I was studying comparative social ethics. I got recruited to become legal counsel at the United States Jesuit headquarters, at the Jesuit order in their social ministry office. which is their major public policy office. And it was there that I was the one in charge of drafting public policy positions for the largest order in the Catholic Church and the Jesuit order. And we had organized a coalition of the top 54 major religious denominations in the United States to organize a major task force in Washington, D.C. to do public policy discussions, to try to counter the extreme right-wing Christian fundamentalists, kind of Christian nationalist operations that were going on, to have kind of a progressive, a spiritually oriented worldview be reflected in some of the policies. And it was in that context that we got to meet Jimmy Carter, when he was running for the presidency in 1976. We brought him in to meet with all 54 of the major leaders of the national religious organizations. And we got him to agree in that meeting that if he were elected, that he would, in fact, issue an executive order cutting off all military funding from the United States to any foreign dictator that was systematically involved in violating the human rights of his own citizens. And after he did get elected successfully, we pressured him, and he did cut off the military funding to Anastasio Somoza in Nicaragua, and he cut off the military funding to the Shah of Iran. And so both of those governments fell because of their lack of military support from the U.S. And it was there that when he got elected, as I mentioned, the first thing that Jimmy Carter did was he contacted the head of the Central Intelligence Agency and demanded that he get briefed in on the UFO issue.
And that was George H.W. Bush at the time.
It was George Sr. And he was the head of the CIA under President Gerald Ford, who took over when Nixon was forced to resign over the Watergate scandal. So the bottom line is that that I was there when President Carter demanded to get briefed in on the UFO issue, and the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, George Bush Sr., refused to brief him, saying that he had no need to know. And so what happened is President Carter then asked the Congress to investigate this, the whole issue of UFOs and what potential connection they might have to any extraterrestrial civilization. And I was contacted by the Congressional Research Service, Science and Technology Division, Dr. Marcia Smith, and she asked me to become special counsel to that investigation for no great cosmic reason, but she just wanted to know whether, as legal counsel at the Jesuit National Headquarters in their social policy office, whether I might be able to get access to the Vatican archives to determine what information they might have that could supplement whatever it is our Congressional Research Service people had. And that was the way that I got involved professionally with the UFO issue. And so as of January of 1977, I ended up being able to get access to the classified portions of Project Blue Book. This is the over 700 cases that Project Blue Book was not able to even preposterously try to explain away.
Were these the ones that J. Allen Hynek was not getting? Or were these the ones
he was getting those, but what they were doing is every time they had a sighting that was totally impossible to explain away, where you had dozens of highly credible witnesses who'd seen it, they had photographs of them, that they had radar sightings and everything, things that they couldn't explain away, they kind of shuffled off into this category of special cases, and there were 700 of them. And they put them into a classified portion of Project Blue Book. And I had asked to be able to get access to those as special counsel to the investigation we were doing. And so I ended up getting to see actual photographs of active crash retrievals, UFO crash retrieval photographs. And so when I saw them, I realized what was really going on. And so we went to the National Council of Churches out of Jesuit headquarters and tried to get the 54 major religious denominations here in the United States to set up a special task force to try to get out ahead of this issue, to really formulate policy to deal with an extraterrestrial civilization before it kind of fell upon us, and that they just declined to do it at that time in 1970.